Today I'm going to help you make $1 million look small. I was on a call recently with one of my coaches, my mentors, and he answered this question in such a brilliant way when somebody asked, how do I go from being a six-figure earner to making that $1 million and $1 million more? And here was his answer, is imagine making $5 million. The way we make $1 million look small is we focus on an even bigger number. And when you start looking at what if my business was generating $5 million, what would that look like? What would that feel like? What plans would I have to have in place? What people would I have to have in place for that $5 million company? And now we've got that recognition with $5 million. Now look at $1 million. And all of a sudden, what seemed like a big stretch all of a sudden feels more doable. The key to really having those quantum leaps with our finances and with our numbers is how we're relating with them. And if we feel like it would be a big jump to go to that $1 million, or if you're to go to six figures, wherever you are, if that feels like a big number and it's big in our minds, then it makes it tougher to achieve, because we achieve what we believe. The better we relate to a number where you see yourself as that $1 million earner, you see yourself with that $1 million in your investments or in your bank account, what happens is it starts to increase your believing. You start to relate to that, being that person who's achieved that goal. And the more you relate with it, it becomes more achievable. You can relate with that number and believe that number when you start spending more time with it. Having that affirmation, having that goal card, having that vision that you're connecting with multiple times a day, not just once a year or once a quarter, but every day you're relating with that number. The other way that you can create that relationship with that number is reduce it to the ridiculous. So looking at that number and breaking it down, what would that look like by month, by week, by day, by hour? And start to relate to it in its reduced number to help you create that connection. If you're ready to break that $1 million mark, remember, look at, well, what would $5 million go to an even bigger number to help you connect to the $1 million. Create a relationship with that number by connecting with it every single day and reduce it to the ridiculous. Break that number down so you can better relate to it. And by doing these things, it's going to help you to increase your believing and therefore your achieving. Working with one client using these particular steps, I asked her, what would you love? What would that number be? And she set a goal that felt insurmountable. She had never achieved it before. And there was a part of her that went, this is impossible. And the more she worked with her specific goal and building a relationship with that number, thinking about it every day, and then breaking it down, well, what would that look like by month and by week and by transaction? In a very short period of time, she called me and she said, Stacey, I have no idea how this happened, but I achieved that goal this year. So what's your number? What number would you love to achieve? Apply these to whatever that number is for you and watch what happens. Here is to you living a life you love.